Does that bother you, the meme the guy posted where you're Robin?
No, not at all. He posted that on my page. I thought it was funny as fuck.
All right. Well, I thought it was probably a little offensive towards you.
That's honestly probably one of the least offensive things towards me.
No, you're right. All the short jokes probably aren't so good.
Constantly. It's to the point it's just like I'm so numb to it, it doesn't bother me.
All right, welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. My name's Ben Stoeger, here to answer your shooting questions. Today we have Tim Herron.
Cool intro here.
All right, it'll probably, maybe Myers will edit it in there. And Nick Antola.
Hello.
Hello, yes. Matt Hopkins also.
Hi.
Yes. Matt, you're fucking bringing some energy. Love it. 10 o'clock at night. You guys are fired up. All right. Yeah. Guys, today we're going to talk about reshooting classifiers. I got this email. It's interesting. Ben and Company, I'm very new to USPSA, having only shot a few matches so far, and I may be off base with this observation. The idea that shooters can pay $5 to reshoot a classifier has me puzzled. I understand the monetary requirement to enter classifier scores with HQ, but I failed to see the gamesmanship in be allowed do-overs. Shouldn't a competitor be given one and only one chance to score his or her best on a classifier stage? Correct me if I'm wrong, but couldn't I spend 20 extra bucks, shoot a classifier 4 additional times, blaze it, get really lucky, and log a score that's not representative of my classification? In this sport, like any sport, isn't the sport, like any sport, a measure of on-demand performance? The idea of a mulligan rubs me the wrong way, or am I misunderstanding something here? Thanks. P.S. We need more of Hopkins. His voice seems to have that soothing Bob Ross effect on me. Is Herron serious with that purple and what appears to be leopard?
Oh my God!
He's a brave man. In Tim's defense, his wife really likes those sheets.
Yes.
All right, guys. Initial reaction. We're going to get into all the ins and outs of this. And if you're not familiar with reshooting classifiers, $5. I think that's a generic fee. The USPSA classifier fee is $3. Do your clubs allow reshoots, guys? Hopkins, does your clubs allow reshoots?
Not any of the outdoor clubs that I go to. I haven't seen it.
All right, Nick, do your clubs do any of your clubs allow reshoots? I think it's club specific, right?
I do not know. I've never seen anybody try. The only time I've even seen anyone attempt to reshoot locally is when they're shooting. They want to shoot in 2 divisions, so they go put on their other gear.
Is it $5 or is it $3 or what is it?
I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
And I wouldn't. It's not even really a reshoot then. Obviously, they're shooting 1 score for a different division. So no, I don't know if we would allow it or not. I've never seen anyone try.
All right, Tim, don't think I'm excluding you. I just know you shoot all the same clubs as Hopkins. So.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say same answer as Hopkins.
I think the clubs around me. I haven't really been paying attention for a long time, but I think they allow reshoots. I don't know. All right, guys. Let's dig into this a little bit. Tim, what's your initial reaction? Allowing reshoots or not? Or I mean, all the stages you shoot for a match, you get your match score. Obviously, you don't get reshoots just because you want one. What's your initial reaction to this guy who says, "Hey, I'm new to USPSA. This reshooting classifier thing seems a little weird to me." What do you say to that?
As a guy that was kind of an up-and-comer back when I was C and B class, man, was there lots of times I would love to have reshot a classifier? Yeah. Were there times I even asked? Yeah. I'm not proud of it now, but yeah, there were times I asked, and every time, especially at outdoor matches, it was like, nope, sorry, it's a stage, just like any other stage. You're done. I didn't even know that there was a buy-in to reshoot again until I don't know, maybe 2 years ago when somebody had actually posted, I don't know, something in some form about like the whole rules on allowing reshoots, or because of a gun malfunction or something like that, or what's the actual rule? Something like if the shooter or a competitor doesn't feel like they've shot the classifier to their actual potential or something like that because of a gun malfunction or a stage malfunction or something like that, then a reshoot can be granted. But then, of course, that is, but it's not to encourage shooters to reshoot over and over and over again to get the score they want or something like that. I didn't even know that was a rule until, like I said, a couple of years ago.
Yantola, your reaction to this guy's email. I mean, it seems legit, right? Like, if you're new to USPSA, you're like, hey, you get your first attempt on every stage. That's what counts. But these classifier stages over here, if you're at a club that has people reshooting them, that might strike you as odd, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I could try to be more diplomatic about this, but I'm not going to be.
But you're not going to be. No.
I hate the concept. I hate the concept of reshooting. I hate it. All right.
Why?
Well, let's take it to an extreme example. Okay, we're all GMs here. Most classifiers, probably everybody on this call could shoot 100 on a classifier. Most classifiers within 3 or 4 or 5 tries, right? So should we all be just doing that, and should we all just get 100% rankings? Like, just shoot all the classifiers until you I mean, the whole concept is ridiculous. I mean, there should be, if you have a score, any score that counts, whether it's a match or a classifier, you should have a pressure run where this is the run you have to perform on, and that's it. Otherwise, it's just, I can sit there and practice whale on classifier and shoot 100, on almost any of them.
Oh, Nick, I can't wait to dig into this topic with you. It's going to be so much fun. Hopkins, your initial, I read the email. What do you think, man? Are you on Team Yantola?
I think it hurts the person more. If you reshoot all these classifiers, you're going to be going against people that are going to fucking destroy you in matches, and you will not have a chance.
Okay.
So I think it hurts a person more.
So you think it's actually a bad idea to reshoot classifiers?
Yeah, I think it's a very bad idea to do it.
Very
Treat
bad.
it like it's a normal stage and go on.
All right, guys. I got to throw this out here. I've got a few things I want to ask you about. First is competitive equity. So let's say I shoot a classifier. I'm A class. I probably should be in GM in terms of skill, but my gun malfunctions horribly or something, and I shoot a score that's way below what my actual skill would be. Nick, I'll address this to you because you seem the most strident about this. Should I reshoot that classifier? Shouldn't I have to reshoot it? Like, my gun fucked up. I should be a GM, but I'm an A class, and my shit's fucking up on me. And for me to be an A class hoses the A class shooters. I don't belong there.
Well, first of all, if you should be a GM, then your match scores are going to eventually put you into GM.
Eventually,
not necessarily.
Yes, not right now.
Not necessarily.
I'm not there right now. I just shot a score that's A class. It's going to keep. Well, it wasn't A class. It was C class because my gun exploded.
Yeah, if you bombed it that bad, it's not going to count anyway. So who cares? Come back next week, shoot another one.
Don't I belong in GM? Isn't it fair to have me in GM?
I'm sure it's fair, and you'll get there eventually. So.
Eventually.
First of all, that's the one. All right, so that's maybe the one case where I wouldn't have like a competitive equity problem if you reshot the stage separately, not for match score. If you shot it again,
of course, yes.
Or you didn't have a gun malfunction. Okay, so if you have a death jam, obviously whatever. Okay.
So if my gun blows up, you don't have a problem with me reshooting. Let's take it one step further. Isn't it the right thing for me to do to reshoot?
I don't find it to be like an ethics question.
No, but isn't it the right thing to do? If I belong in GM and I'm currently in A, and my classifier is fucked up for some reason, isn't it the right thing to do for me to reshoot?
I'm ambivalent in this particular case.
I understand that you don't care. I want you to put on your thinking cap and decide if it's the right thing or not.
Do or
because
don't.
I'm too stupid to figure it out. You don't give a shit.
Your
Fuck
match
it.
score with your blown up run should stand for your match score, and then if you want to shoot it again,
No, of
in
course.
that case, fine.
Stand for the match score, but for classification purposes, let's say, for the sake of argument, you agree that I belong in a much higher classification than I currently am.
So that's not going to be the last match you shoot, theoretically, right? Like you're not going to stop shooting at that point.
I'm not going to quit. No, I really like USPSA.
All right, so you're going to be back to another match next week where you'll have another opportunity to bring a gun that works.
No, I'm busy next week. I'm busy. Right. All right, Tim. Let's carry on with that. What I was talking about with Nick. Are there some circumstances where it's kind of incumbent on the shooter to reshoot? Like, should I reshoot at any point or no?
I would say it's.
Well, just in the case of gun malfunction, or let's say they read the stage briefing to me. I'm really distracted with all the hot chicks on the range, and they read the stage briefing. They say it's 1 shot per target, and I just shoot 2 shots per target on the classifier stage, and it obviously it bones my score. It's because it's Virginia count. What do I do? I mean, shouldn't I reshoot it?
I wouldn't think so. Not with something like that. No, not with that.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yantola says absolutely not.
No. Now, like I said, gun malfunction.
So, yeah.
I have
gun
been
malfunction or like not following the briefing for the stage.
No.
You don't care. Okay. Under what circumstances are reshoots okay for you? I mean, if you're watching some dude on your squad reshoot a classifier, when do you think that's okay?
Gun malfunction. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Why? Why is that okay?
Because then it was something that is at least quasi out of your control.
Right.
Well, let's say he's
not reading the stage brief is completely within your control.
Let's say you're deliberately sandbagging. You see this guy deliberately sandbagging. He shoots the whole classifier, shoots it really well, waits 2 or 3 seconds, and then he plugs the no-shoot right in the face.
I've seen people do that.
Yeah, should he have to reshoot it for classification purposes?
Nah.
No. So sandbagging, you don't give a shit.
It's eventually he's going to have to shoot matches, and he's going to get match scores. They're going to push him where he's supposed to.
So you're just counting on karma to sort this out.
You know, there's very few cases. I think the classification system is pretty good. I think there's a few outliers. Obviously, everyone knows probably somebody, but
I don't know anybody.
In general,
everybody I know is classified exactly where I'd put them.
In general, I think it's pretty good. I mean, you have these people that are hardcore one way or the other, but I think I mentioned this before, I would tweak the classification system a little bit if I were king for a day. I would say
you could be king for a whole week as far as I'm concerned.
A whole week. All right. I would have there be 3, so I wouldn't just count, I wouldn't roll classifier stages and match scores in the same queue. I would have 2 separate queues for each, 1 for each, and I would take like the top 3 scores from each one of those. So that way you have some major match scores and classifier stages that are both being forced to count.
Right on. Okay, Hopkins, so you've heard this discussion of when is it okay to reshoot as far as you're concerned? So you hear the guys here are saying gun malfunction, reshoot the stage.
No, I don't think you should.
What's that?
I don't think you should be able to reshoot it even if you have a gun malfunction.
Whoa.
That's part of this sport. You don't get to reshoot stages and majors because you have gun malfunctions.
Well, you're not reshooting it for match score. You're not. It doesn't affect your match score. Just for purposes of classification.
Then, no, it still doesn't make sense to me.
Well, what doesn't make sense about it?
I don't agree with it. It's part of the sport where.
Okay, well, let me explain the rationale to you, and we'll see if I can persuade you that it's a good idea. So, somebody, let's say their skill level would put them in master class, and they're currently in B class. They shoot a classifier stage. They shoot it really well, except for that they're gun jams. They clear the jam, but it takes enough time that it's still a B class score. Doesn't that person who has a master class skill level, don't they belong in master class? I mean, Nick would say they're going to get there eventually, right? Eventually, they're going to shoot enough classifier stages, they go to master. But we want to get them in master as soon as possible because they're shooting a major match in a couple months, and we don't want them taking the high B trophy when they don't really, they belong in master class. What do you say to that?
I still don't agree with it. I think part of this was
why not?
Working.
Don't go full Candace on me, dog. Why don't you agree with it? Give me a reason.
It's practical shooting. Having your equipment work is part of the practical side of it.
I guess, but Nick says it's quasi out of your control, and Nick seems like a pretty smart guy to me.
You're in charge of your equipment.
Well, even all the guys have equipment. They have really good equipment. They try and take care of it, but occasionally shit fucks up on them, right?
There's always next month.
Okay, but we're not waiting till next month because then he won't be in the right classification by the time that he has his section match, and that fucks over other people.
Well, this is the thing, right? Somebody's got to win B class or A class or whatever, and whoever that person is,
you don't give a shit about A class, do you?
You
don't care.
The class is going to be called a fucking sandbagger anyway.
Exactly. Whoever wins their class is going to be a sandbagger. I mean, that's the way it is. Someone's got to do it.
They're going to be called it at least. Yeah.
So you don't care who wins B class, even if they should be in GM. You're like, it's a fucking sandbagger one way or the other. You don't care. I mean, that's true, right? You don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I know a guy local here that was still in B class when he should have been at least an M, and he crushed balls in B class for call matches, and then he moved on. That's the way it goes.
It happens.
All right, guys.
People can advance more than their classification too.
All right.
They don't get caught up.
So let's move on. Are there any positive effects to reshooting classifiers, do you think? Anything good about it that you can see?
You can post on Facebook about it.
You can post on Facebook about it. That's awesome.
Basically, I think it's more of an ego thing than anything else. For your own pride or whatever.
Well, doesn't that make you feel good to get to have a positive post on Facebook for once?
I guess it'd make you feel good until you went to a major match and got your ass kicked.
It's better than complaining about how hot it is at work, right?
Oh.
It's 100 degrees. It's so hot.
Why do I like you guys?
Yantola,
can you think of anything good about reshooting classifiers?
Not really. Like I said, it's not going to really hurt my feelings if someone reshoots because of an equipment malfunction only. But at the same time, Hopkins' approach wouldn't hurt my feelings either. That's it. Like you said, if there's, in my opinion, it's one pressure run. That's when you got to do it. You have to perform now.
Here's the question, though.
Or it's not valid.
Why is it that way? Because you've said the classifications system is pretty good, right? So it's not like we have a lot of GMs that aren't GMs or something, we have a lot of C-class shooters that aren't C-class shooters.
That's pretty good. We have a handful of people that may abuse the system one way or the other.
What do you mean abuse the
system? It's a horrible system.
Well, it's bad. Yeah, what do you mean abuse the system? What does that mean?
Either sandbag or grand bag by
grand bagging would be what?
Grand bagging would be reshooting until you're happy with your score.
And why is that bad?
It cheapens the achievement. I mean, do you go to when you go to school? Do you retake the same test 4 times until you get?
Let's say you did.
Does it cheapen your achievement?
Yeah. Does that bad for Nick Yantola GM, top 16 at nationals, Death Stalker, badass shooter guy? Does some retard having a GM card who you think doesn't deserve one, is that bad for you? Do you really care?
I mean, probably I'm going to crush that person in a match. So
you're going to crush their nuts.
Yeah,
you're going to smash them. You're going to humiliate them.
It's not really bad for me, but
so you don't care.
But
you do
we've talked
care.
about this a little bit. Yeah, for GM, in my opinion, it cheapens it a little bit. Come on,
So you don't like them because they're stealing your thunder. They're making you look bad, right?
A little bit.
Tim, you got
Yeah.
a problem with people stealing your GM thunder with all the reshoots?
I don't know. Honestly, for me, I don't care. If somebody wants
You
to
don't
fucking
give a
reshoot
fuck.
that, I don't.
You're such a nice guy.
Well, it's on them. If they want to reshoot, okay, great, cool. I'll see you at an area match, and when you're, 30% behind where you should be, sorry about it, buddy. I don't.
You sound like you say you're sorry about it, but you don't sound like you're sorry about it.
Yeah, I'm really not sorry about it. You decided to put yourself in that position, and now you've got to pay the price. You know
It's
what I
all
mean?
within class rankings anyway, which right? They're all arbitrary.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopkins, what's your reaction to all this?
I feel it does cheapen kind of what I've done a little bit, yeah.
Well, what did you do? You just shot guns for a while because you thought it was fun, right?
Yeah, but we got to a certain level and we've been ranked how we are.
Well,
as
I got
GMs.
I got ranked to GM, but there's a lot of slack-jawed dipshits that are GMs.
Do you
So
think
does anyone
everybody
really-
should be then?
What?
Do you think everybody that has it should be it?
I don't know. What do you mean should be? I mean,
To me, that opens up a completely different can of worms.
This
would
reminds-
you take some people's away?
well, let me talk about it like this. This reminds me of this guy on Facebook who got pissed off at me. Maybe he wasn't pissed off, but he was commenting on a podcast where I said I was saying something about this guy over here is a GM, but I was sort of stratifying GMs. I think I said the guy was sort of a local level GM or something. But I think we all know that there's a lot of different guys who all have GM cards who are much, they're very different levels of GM. There are guys who are GMs who do well at the local level. There are guys who are contenders to win area matches. There are guys who can win national level matches. And then there's guys who have won multiple national titles. And then even above that, there's guys who are fucking legendary because they've won a bunch of nationals over the course of a couple decades. Something like that. So GM as a classification, it's stratified. They're not all equal, and we all know that.
There's probably as many levels within GM as there are, GM.
In every other classification.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I mean, and I'm not saying that to be a dick or to like. I'm not trying to shit on anybody. I'm not trying to. Yeah. That's just what I see. So, for me, do I care if some guy reshoots a classifier 100 times, and they do that at their club match for a year, and they get a GM card? Somebody who wanted to be a dick could say, yeah, that guy doesn't deserve a GM card for whatever because they had to reshoot the classifier. And I would say, well, okay, they're really good at their club level. They're probably one of the best guys at their club, or the best guy at their club, and that's cool. That's awesome for them. But are they at the contender for area match win level? No, they're not. And okay, that's not me being mean. That's just being realistic about where they are, So I look at it that way. I think GM is stratified enough that who really gives a shit if somebody wants to reshoot it? Like, I don't care. I mean, fuck it. I think if you send USPSA a check for $500, you should be able to buy a GM card. Who cares? I may be kidding about that a little bit, but whatever. Isn't that basically what some people do?
Yeah, technically.
I think so. Definitely.
I mean, to me, it ought to mean something. Like I said, if they change the scoring model in the way I suggested earlier, it would probably be, in my opinion, harder to become a GM, and I don't think that'd be a necessary thing.
So this is interesting. So you think the rule in the USPSA rulebook now, it explicitly allows for reshoots, right, Nick?
Sure.
explicitly.
I guess.
And it doesn't. It's not really specific enough about the reasons for the reshoot. So it's basically, if you want to reshoot a classifier, go right ahead. You can do it. And if you were Manny Bragg for a day, president of USPSA, you'd say, no, that's not the rule.
I would incorporate.
Go fuck yourself on the reshoot, buddy.
Yeah. Well, for the rest of the classifications, honestly, I don't care at all. But
only for GM.
Only
that's
for GM.
Special.
Fine. I think you should be required to demonstrate some level of match performance against other GMs to become a GM. That would not hurt my feelings at all. Match performance and measures.
Well, you can say that because you're already a GM.
Nick, that used to be, I think, the rule when the GM cards actually first came out, like in the early or mid '90s, was the GM title was only for shooters that had won a national title or finished like within 2 or 3% of that national title. That was it.
I don't know for a fact because I wasn't around then, but I feel like it was sort of the situation we're in now, where we have a bunch of people in GM. Relative to the rest of the sport, there's a bunch of people in GM, and it's kind of like for guys who are more casual about shooting, it's once you hit GM, you're fucked because you're not going to go to a major match and win your class because you're casual. So what do? And that was the situation with Masterclass before, and that's why they created GM. Right?
Well, like you said, there's so many tiers within GM that you're not going to solve that unless you create 8 more classifications, right? But at the same time, you're going to have so few people involved in that. Like I don't think that.
I'm not saying it, Matt. I don't think we should be creating more classifications. I don't think that's an issue.
Right.
Like who gives a shit?
I honestly, when I go to major matches, I don't even look at a classification of people I shoot with.
Well, that's just because you're a GM. You're going to smash everybody.
Well, no, you go to a match because you want to win. You want to win your division. So it's not. I mean, I even as a B, I didn't want to go to a match and be like, well, I want to win first B. I was like, I wanted to do as best I possibly could in the division. Period. If that was 3rd overall out of 20 shooters in single stack, that's what I wanted.
All right. So you're Manny Bragg for a day, president of USPSA, of course. What would the rule be? Can you reshoot classifiers or not?
Honestly, I don't care. I agree with you. It doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't matter.
You don't give a shit.
No.
Hopkins, are you going to be on team apathy, where you don't care about the sport like me and Tim, or are you going to be like Nick? Are you going to sort this out?
I don't think they should be allowed to reshoot them.
Well, so you're saying there should be a rule? Yeah, no reshoots allowed for classification purposes.
Right. You can set them up in practice enough. The diagrams are out there. They're usually announced before the match. Go out there and fucking shoot it 100 times in practice.
Yeah, but that's not as cool. That's not as cool as doing it in a match. Too fucking bad? Damn. Damn, you're gonna do people like that?
Then here would be my point to that. Then, if you had a steadfast rule of no, you're not allowed to reshoot classifiers. How do you police that? Honestly,
peer pressure.
So you think you should get on the internet and be a fucking asshole to people that...
You mean to tell me there wasn't be any...
Shame them.
Shame them?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, who out there knows somebody, it's like, well, cool, I'm the match director, or I've got a buddy that's a match director that will let me reshoot it, or...
Well, let's back up a little bit, Hopkins. So if somebody reshoots a classifier a bunch of times and gets 100% on it, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that anybody can do that?
No.
No. So
exactly.
You need to have some skills with a Z. You need to have some skills to get a hundo on a classifier, regardless of how many reshoots you get. So isn't that an achievement on some level to do that?
Yeah, but it would be more of an achievement if you didn't get to reshoot them.
Well, maybe that's so, but we have major matches to sort that shit out, don't we?
Yeah.
So why do you care?
If your major match score is 80% all the time, and you reshoot classifiers until you get a hundo all the time, you're going to go to 100%.
Correct.
classification.
So you got 100% classifiers, and you got 80% major matches, and you know who these people are. So what the fuck difference does it make? Why do you care, Nick?
It's just unethical. I'm sorry. Now I'm
It's
on
unethical?
I'm on the Hopkins train with this one.
Well, okay, I understand you're on the Hopkins train, but why? Like, why is it unethical?
I don't know. Unethical
You're
might be a strong word.
explicitly allowed in the rules to do
takes
it.
away from
Okay, I'm sorry. Unethical was not the right word. All right.
What's the right word?
It's competitive equity is compromised by doing that.
So you're saying it's gay.
Right.
Gay is the word you're using.
Yeah. It's not
It's
technically against the
homosexual.
rules. It's not. I'm not going to call it unethical if it's not against the rules, but I'm going to call it homosexual, definitely.
So Hopkins, you're on the gay bandwagon? Not like that, but the other
I think
way.
it takes away from the people that actually do it on the first try.
Really? Does it take away from
Yes,
you?
it does.
It takes away from you because you did it on your first
They're
try.
the same.
I seem to
You're the same
remember.
as them.
I seem to remember a guy named Matt Hopkins who was pretty fucking good, who was in A class. This sandbagging son of a bitch in A class finished top 16 at nationals.
So?
You sandbagger, you.
No, I'm pretty sure I still shot my classification percentage.
But you were a sandbagging bastard.
So?
So that's unethical.
And
Isn't
eventually he got where he's supposed to
I
go.
got out of it.
I don't know. It's
So-
about as unethical as reshooting classifiers and being a GM, right?
How?
Well, they didn't give you the top A class for that national,
No, they
did
didn't.
they?
I wanted it.
Because you had no business getting it because you were
Yeah,
such a
true. That's
sandbagger.
true.
I
You were
forgot they
top
do that.
16.
Yeah, I can see that point a little bit, I guess, but
So I guess I the question is, why does this
I didn't
offend
take
you?
it away from anybody.
Take what away?
Did what I was doing take
No,
it
you
away
didn't.
from
No, you
anybody?
didn't do anything wrong. You just shot the classifiers the way they laid out, and
Yeah.
you shot as well as you did at major matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you didn't do anything wrong. But how does somebody who reshoots the classifiers? How are they doing anything wrong? They just want a G next to their M on the card because they want that to be because that's cool, man.
Well, it'll eventually get there. And then
Well, maybe
it'll
what
feel
if-
so much better then, right?
What if it won't eventually get there? What if they need to kind of massage it a little bit to get it where they want it to go?
Well, not everybody gets everything they want. Fucking, how it works.
Someday your kids are gonna hate you.
Well, not everybody gets everything they want. There you go. And if Hopkins, you guys should be, for all you guys reshooting classifiers, you should be happy that Hopkins is not Manny Bragg and not president of USPSA, because he'd be putting a stop to that shit. In a hurry.
I'd spend my full 40 hours a week. Well, if I'm Manny, I might be 20. Looking at local match results and seeing how you did on the classifiers and seeing if that'll count.
What a son of a bitch you are. All right, you guys have anything left to say on this topic? We've pretty much beat it to death. I don't give a shit. Tim doesn't give a shit. Yentola's an asshole. And Hopkins thinks it should be against the rules.
I think that's pretty much sums it up.
It does. It does. I don't... apathy overrides everything when it comes to me. All right, it's time for a shooting question, gentlemen. I've been working on the dry fire transition drill with 1/3 scale targets from your dry fire book, simulated 10 yards, simulated 3 yards apart. Just for the record, I don't know what the fuck drill this guy's working on. I don't know what the
That's not in the
transition
book,
drill
is
is.
it?
Well, there are transition drills in the book, but I don't know about simulated 3 yards apart. Anyway, I'm consistently hitting the par time of 1.6 seconds, calling every shot. So last night, I decided to make the 3 targets zebra targets, hard cover on C and D zone, on left and right of the target. Son of a bitch, that was tough. The par time went to 2.1 or 2.2 seconds consistently with good hits, calling every shot? Should I mix an open target in with the 2 zebra targets so I don't get hung up on the same pace on an open target as I do on a harder target? So this guy's concerned about training himself incorrectly. I mean, I guess you'd use air quotes for that, right? Like incorrectly, so that he would be screwing himself up somehow if he's using the wrong target difficulties. Tim, you're a dry fire guru. What do you think of this? Zebra targets, is that a bad deal?
No, I don't think zebra targets are a bad deal because it forces you to.
But he's using all zebra targets.
Right, but it's forcing him to actually focus and harder and to concentrate on the front sight and to mind the front sight a little bit more. I would be.
But he doesn't want to get too used to that, he says.
The problem is I would be extremely curious if he was doing it with open targets and he's doing it at 1.6 second par time, but then he changes everything to zebra targets and now he's 2.1 second par time, then was he really calling his shots when they were open targets when he was pulling the 1.6 par? Especially if they're at the same distances, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense to me because the A zone hasn't changed at all. So if you're calling A's...
I feel you, bro.
If you're calling A's at open targets, then you should still be able to call those A's just as fast on zebras. Right?
Yes. What are you laughing about, Nick? It's so funny.
I don't know. Well, first of all, I don't think that's exactly what he asked. The last part of his question was, should I mix in an open target with the zebra targets?
Well, I mean, the implication there is that there's something wrong with having all zebras, yeah?
No, I don't think there is anything wrong.
No, I think all he's asking is, should I be mixing targets in to change my pace between fast and slow targets? Absolutely, I love doing that. I do that all the time in dry fire and live fire. I think that's excellent. Like I try to rarely shoot arrays that are all exactly the same pace at exactly the same distance, just because I think it's really good to vary, the difficulty of the shot within the same array. I like doing that myself.
I kind of have to disagree with that, though, just a little bit.
Oh, just a little bit. Well, no, I want you to full on disagree. Okay, I want you to attack Nick personally.
I don't want to attack Nick personally because everybody's training regimen and everything is completely different. I mean, among the panel of us 4 guys here tonight, it's obviously I think we all kind of come from different training backgrounds or how we practice, how we train, things we enjoy, things we don't. I've kind of made myself a student of this though for a while, and I think that's a big misconception a lot of guys have. Is like, okay, I'm going to blaze that open target at 3 yards, but then I have to really refine my sight picture for basically I wouldn't even say basically, for the exact same size A zone on a partial target at the same distance of 3 yards. What's changed? Honestly, nothing has changed other than the hardcover. If it's a zebra or a no shooter,
there's a level of risk there, right?
Is there?
Lots changed.
Yeah, there is for sure.
Well, the thing that would be different is all the fucking hardcover.
Okay, I understand that, but given if you're truly focused on your front sight and you're really focused on technique and getting the front sight centered A's on the open targets, then is it because of difficulty itself, or is it because it's visual noise? So it's got you set in your mind that it is difficult, even though it's really not. The A zone didn't change. The size and shape of the A zone on the open target is the exact same size and shape as the A zone on the hardcover target. Is it or is it not?
If you hit a C on a hardcover target, that's a miss, which is not as good as the C.
Right, but if you're dry firing, and being completely honest and accountable for yourself in your dry fire and saying I'm calling good shots, then I would have to ask then, okay, what's your idea of good shots?
A's and close C's.
Are you really able to call close C's in dry fire?
Yeah.
As much as
A's and close C's. So if it's somewhere in there, that's generally a go.
Okay.
Whereas if it's not, that's bad. But then if you put hardcover all over it, it kind of changes things.
Mm.
Yeah. So absolutely. So you're going to call a shot that's probably an A, but if it's a close C, no big deal on an open target, which to me is a different rate than I have to guarantee an A on this target.
Well, it's not even like I have to guarantee an A. I want to hit the A more in the center. Yeah?
Right. But because at the same time, if you're really trying to shoot to guarantee A's...
I don't like hardcover. That's bad. You don't want to shoot that.
Okay, let's change this up then. How many of us, and I know everybody here has gone to a match, even a local match. Let's say there is hardcover, and it's a zebra with just the A zone exposed. How many of us have witnessed other shooters maybe taking entirely too long refining a sight picture for what would otherwise be, a 3-yard or 5-yard, hose the trigger twice and move on to the next target, and you stepped back and looked at it and be like, oh my God, you're taking entirely too long to aim and shoot those.
Go ahead, Hopkins. What were you going to say?
The level of error you have with A zone only is like the minor floor. If you shoot below minor in production, you're not shooting for score. But if you shoot minor or shooting limited, you're at least shooting for a score. It's just not as good. I equate that to shooting below minor in production would be shooting a mic on the A only target, or if you shoot minor, trying to go from major, would be shooting a C on the open target.
I'm kind of following what you're saying, yeah.
You guys all look like it didn't make sense, but
I'm just saying, you're just equating a concept, not necessarily that they're 1-for-1 in terms of like scoring.
Right? Yeah, it's a concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the level of error is way more.
Realistically, are you going to? If you're at a match, you say you got a target away 7 yards, wide open metric targets, whatever. I mean, are you really going to shoot the same pace if there's no hardcover than if you got A's only? I mean, I'm not.
I'm not going to shoot the same pace.
Well, maybe you're just a bitch, Nick. Maybe you're taking too long to aim.
I mean, yeah, you could play. I mean, sure, you could. I mean, you could shoot as fast. Maybe you're lucky, maybe you're not. But if I've got a wide open target, totally wide open target, I don't want to shoot a C. But at the same time, if I can pick up .05 or whatever per shot, if I shoot a C somewhere in there, it's probably not. It's probably a wash at worst, right? If I can shoot a 16 split instead of a 20 split, that would take to guarantee an A.
Once again, I feel you.
So I guess getting back to the point is like I personally don't see it as a bad thing that he requires more par time to shoot an all A array, like a hardcover array versus like a not hardcover array. Personally, wouldn't think that is like a negative thing.
Your suspicion would be that he's aiming, right?
That would be my suspicion.
I've never had like for me personally also like shot calling in dry fires, like I found it's not completely worthless, but it's something I have to heavily verify in live fire also.
Well, live fire is where you learn to call shots, right?
Yeah,
you learn what a particular sight picture means, and then in dry fire you read your sights and you see where your sights are, hopefully, as you're doing dry fire exercises. Yeah. But you wouldn't know what any of that shit means if you hadn't been doing live fire.
Right. But if say I couldn't shoot for a couple weeks or something like that, if I can only dry fire for like some period of time, and I go back to shoot, like the very first thing that starts to go is like my visual acuity, shot calling, stuff like that. Like that's the first thing to go.
Yeah.
So I got to maintain that in live fire constantly.
All right, Hopkins, pop quiz. Do you remember the question?
Why you gotta do that to me, dude?
No, I don't remember it either. I'm just being an asshole. All right, do you think it's a good idea to mix in hardcover with into your dry fire and maybe have a distance or a difficulty change up? Like, so there's some targets that are hard covered and some that aren't?
Yeah. Makes
Good
sense.
idea. Good idea. For sure.
Yeah, you're going to see that in a match, so I don't see why you shouldn't be practicing.
God damn it. You and your logic, sir.
Well, what are we here to do?
You're going to see hardcover matches, so you should probably practice it. Point, set, match.
At least I said something intelligent on this thing.
No, it took Yantola like 5 minutes to explain why that was a good idea, and you just came in here like, well, yeah, you're going to do that, so you can do that. That's why I like you, Hopkins. You're a smart dude. All right, on the topic of mixing hardcover into your dry fire, any of you monkeys have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say try to mix in distance with it as well, or simulate a distance, or things that you can do to.
Yeah, usually it's making the target a different size because you're going to put it all on a wall, and the wall's going to be some particular distance away from you. That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So, like in dry fire, where you have a wall, like it's really exactly the same thing in that case, right? Like, because your distance isn't actually changing, so like your visual point of like focus is not actually changing. So it's really the same thing in dry fire if you're doing like hardcover versus a smaller smaller target or whatever. It's all the same. You're aiming for a smaller point but it's actually only at the same distance. So you're not having to change your visual point of focus, which detracts from the challenge, in my opinion, a little bit.
So you want to have stuff at a different distance in dry fire, if possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where you're.
Within your house, unless you live in a mansion, you're not going to be able to get any like real long distance dry fire.
Let's
shots.
speak to the people who do live in mansions. Yeah. Let's quit giving advice to the fucking peasants. Let's talk about.
Let's put dry fire targets at 35 yards in.
Dry fire targets at 35 yards. Love it. All right, I think that pretty much covers it for today. Excellent discussion, guys. You hating on the grand baggers? Jesus. I don't see why you guys care, but whatever.
Sandbaggers too. We're hating on sandbaggers also.
You hate everyone.
Right.
All right. If you want to talk to Hopkins, head over to hopkinsshooting.com. Nick Antola is on Facebook because he's too unprofessional to have a website. Tim Herron, you can reach him at hopkinsshooting.com, and for me, you can reach me at bensteger.com. As always, if you have any shooting questions you want the answer to, I'll put them in front of this merry band of idiots, and send them to me at bensteger.com. Yeah, I'll read them to the guys, and we'll see what they say. So yeah, that's it.